Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans, pro football fans, Kentucky Derby fans, auto racing fans, etc. across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show. And yes, you can tell by our three abreast start here, we got something different going on today. We were welcoming into the studio. By the way, it's the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, and we've got a special guest by the name of Obie Stillwell. Stillwell. That sounds like a Wildcatter's worst nightmare, a Stillwell. But Obie Stillwell, welcome to the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, my man.
Hey, thank you for having me, and I feel at home. It's a reconnection with my man, Clay Hall here. So,
yes.
So I appreciate that. Thanks for the ask.
And I wish you'd worn your signature bow tie, but you did not. You opted not to today. Right. But we're going to talk with Obie about several things, one of which is Obie's Breakfast Club, which had its annual meeting again this past week. Quarterly meeting again this past week. And our good friend, our correspondent, our reporter, what would you call yourself, Clay? Reporter
my
extraordinaire,
wife
reporter emeritus?
My wife would say reporter on the scene.
Yeah, reporter on the scene. Because he's never home. That's what you would add that point part, but Clay left that part out. But Clay Hall was there, talked to a couple of guys we want to run some sound and video on later in the show. Raymont Harris, former Buckeye, the ultraback. What was his other name? Quiet Storm.
Yep.
The only running back I ever knew with two nicknames.
Yeah.
But Raymont Harris, what he's up to now, because he spoke at the Obie's Breakfast Club, and also Mickey Marotti, the strength and conditioning coach for Ohio State. He has some other more uppity title, like associate athletic director in charge of muscles or something like that. Yeah. But
sports performance.
Yeah. One of the great guys I've ever met in my life. I don't know about you guys. And the stuff he's done with Ohio State since he came along with Urban Meyer in 2012 from the University of Florida, what he's done in the sports performance-wise and how he keeps things fresh, as the old saying goes. My good buddy Clay got some sound and video with him talking about those things. But before we get into that, I want to just touch on a couple of things that happened over the weekend, which really touched me. One of which was the passing of Alex Zanardi, former IndyCar driver, former Formula One driver. I'll get to that in a minute. But fellas, the stretch run by Golden Tempo in the Kentucky Derby. This is a sports podcast as much as it is Ohio State football and college football. Is everybody who knows me well knows that my wife and I, it's mainly my wife, I just whatever you want, honey. But we've had horses for since I met her in 1982 or 81, but we've had horses in our life ever since then. And we've had many thoroughbreds come along. Thoroughbreds are very special animals. And you saw that again on Saturday in the Kentucky Derby. But that stretch run by Golden Tempo was crazy. Coming from at the top of the stretch, he was in last place down the back stretch. But at the top of the stretch, there were 12 horses in front of him. In the Kentucky Derby, 12 horses in front of you, and he ran them all down.
He did. He scooped them up.
That was like watching Obie Stillwell doing gassers after Ohio State football practices back in the day, right, Obie? But what a magnificent performance. And then on top of it, that guy, the jockey, had ridden the winner in the Kentucky Oaks the day before, which means he got that only, I think, 7 jockeys have ever done that, ridden. Basically, the Kentucky Oaks is for fillies, basically female horses. And then he wins the Kentucky Derby, and he beats his brother, who's riding the favorite, Rampage, who was stuck in the middle for so long. And I guarantee you his brother never saw his brother coming down the stretch, because he thought pretty sure he had won because he had gone past the 2 horses on his left. And I guarantee he didn't think anybody was coming up on his right, because on his right was the middle of the track. Yeah. And 2 brothers go across the start-finish line a neck apart. The brother riding the favorite, Erod Diaz, all of a sudden, I'm sure he saw him out of the corner of his eye at the last minute when you couldn't do anything. Yeah. And his brother, Jose Diaz, riding the favorite, riding the not favorite. What's the opposite of favorite? The long shot, Golden Tempo, goes right by him at the finish line. Crazy. What a crazy finish to one of the great Kentucky Derbies ever. But it was the first time a Kentucky Derby winner was trained by a female.
Yep.
Cherie DeVoe.
DeVoe.
That was crazy. That's a lot to pack into a historic moment.
Had you still been a print guy, you'd still be writing.
I'd still be writing.
It's incredible sidebars off of that. And to see her, everybody, you got a camera on everything. And as the momentum started to change
she knew what her horse, here's the thing that stood out about the camera that was focused on her and her little group is she knew her horse better than anybody. Sure. Because she knew at the top of the stretch, even though he was sitting 13th, he had a shot because that's the way this horse operates. It comes from behind, which worries you about the Preakness. But the Belmont, I think he's even trained at the Belmont. I think that's where her main training ground is for her stable. But they also train at Claiborne Farms, but in Kentucky. But the point is, she knew he had a shot, which is crazy. He was 13th and 15 lengths behind at the top of the stretch. And the way she knew her horse, and she was going, Jose, go Jose, which is the name of her jockey. Because, he was popping him at the right times, but it was cool to watch. Agreed.
She was suspended on top of a rail.
Yeah.
And they had a camera behind her and her feet were just kicking the,
I saw that.
And she collapsed almost as it happened.
Yeah.
What'd you think about that, Obie?
I thought it was super cool. I just, being a walk-on that got a scholarship, man.
Yeah.
I have become a huge fan of the underdog, a huge fan of those who are unexpectedly achieving, because they put in the work. And like you said, I think it was cool because in the wee hours of the night, right, you could see the relationship between the jockey, the trainer, and the horse, right? The unseen, the things that people don't see, they'll cheer for you later on. But I thought that was cool because I didn't know she was the only female trainer at the time till just now that you said that. But she was all in.
Oh yeah.
And she knew what was in him, and that's a sermon. That's a whole, series. That's a book or what have you to know what she had put in that horse.
Yes.
Right. And what the jockey had put in the horse, that it could come from all the way, from the back, to the front, and
he's kind of been doing that his whole career. You know what I mean? As in underrated, or whatever you want to call it, not expected to do something special.
Yeah. And the belief, right? It's a
the
horse.
Word. That's the word.
It's a horse, but the belief that she had, knowing I know what he can do,
what he's capable. If he is within a certain distance,
right,
he's capable of this. The interesting thing too about that is that the jockey has to have the same feel for that horse. He had to know I'm not out of it, meaning when he was on the backstretch and dead last.
Right.
There were 19 horses started the race, or 18. He had to know I'm kind of where I want to be.
Yeah.
Unless somebody, because the horse that was leading, for example, was going to run out of gas. Everybody knew that.
Yeah.
If you follow the racing form, and it's funny how they get the rabbits in there, even though they don't have a shot, unless something weird happens. But then to have that belief in your horse, but then the way he steered him through the traffic and basically went wide, went down the middle of the track.
Yeah.
How many times have you ever seen a Kentucky Derby winner go down the middle of the track on the stretch run? That's almost the farthest you can go and win that. You know what I mean? And go ahead, Clay.
Yeah, exactly. I'd never seen a horse go that.
He had to, though.
Wide.
Yeah.
And yet he
got out of the pack.
He did it. And what was so crazy when they were trying to put the horses in the starting gate, and that gray horse.
Yeah.
I yelled, I flicked it over at the last minute. I forgot it was on. It seems to get later every year. But that horse bucked, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
The jockey goes flying, and that horse just goes over like this.
Yeah.
it just, the whole thing was crazy.
Yeah.
And that horse, you're out.
You never
You're
want to see
out.
a thoroughbred land on its back like that
No.
horse did.
And they said we can't give a physical in enough time to see if that horse is still good to run.
Yeah.
So,
but obviously he turned out to be okay. I want to leave people hanging. He turned out to be okay and went home the next day.
he was out of the race.
Checked out at the clinic and went home the next day. I guess that was outpatient. But back to what we're talking about. This is the thing, Obie, that's always intrigued me because, like I said, we've had horses. At one point, we had 4, but we've always had a thoroughbred, and these are horses that weren't good enough, to be race horses after they ran for a while and stuff. But they're still thoroughbreds. Mm-hmm. And my daughter did that 3 event stuff. It's dressage, stadium jumping, and cross country stuff all in a weekend. Yeah. And from the time she was like 7 years old till she was like 20, and won a lot of ribbons and all this kind of stuff. You're always looking for that perfect horse, to put her on and stuff. But the bottom line is, what I'm saying is, the thing I've learned about horses a long time ago is they think.
They do.
They think. And sometimes, as Bobby Rahal said one time, he and his wife and my wife then had horses at the same stable. Bobby Rahal was won the Indy 500 and stuff, drove a race car over 230 miles an hour at one point. We're sitting at a function at the stable, and we're out just having a beer, sitting on the hood of a car. And I said, by the way, Bobby, do you ride? And he goes, hell no. And I went, why not? He goes, I'm not getting on something that big with a brain that small. Because horses think. They don't always do what you think they're going to do. No. But never discount. I know this, some people find this funny because a lot of people think of horses as machines. They're not machines. They're actual flesh and bone. But never think exactly what a horse is thinking. And also never think that you can't train a horse as in to have will, to get that will out of him. Because that's clearly what you saw on display. Golden Tempo was running dead last. And in his mind, he was in the race. Mm-hmm. He was where he wanted to be. You follow my drift? Yeah. Remember Big Brown, the big horse that was going for the Triple Crown at Belmont? It was like 95 degrees that day. Backstretch, he said, I'm not running anymore. He just, because you know why? Because he can think. This, it may be a big deal, but I'm not going to die over this kind of thinking. So
that's what I kind of wonder, though. I was like watching that and even just sitting here listening to you. I'm like, man, what did the jockey tell him?
Yeah.
In that moment, because
it's more like
you're talking to.
Yeah, but more like he's feeling you. He's feeling you.
He's feeling them. But I have to just think that he's yelling something at him at the same time that they have talked. You know what I'm saying? Because just when you talk about a horse thinking, I just can't imagine him not saying something to him too, like while he's,
But here's what he did. Here's what he did more than anything else. He stuck to the plan. And the horse, after you train a horse a certain length of time, they know what the plan is, like a dog. Talking about man's best friend. I mean, the dog understands the plan. And at the end, he expects to have a treat when he executes.
He understood and bought into it at the right time.
Exactly. And some horses like to lead and can't stand it when they're trailing. They don't like crap in their face.
Yeah.
Some horses, they love being part of the pack, but boy, at the end, they want to lead. You know what I mean? And every horse is different. Is my point. I guess I'm making. Yeah. And I'm thinking Golden Tempo. And I'm not giving him human qualities. I just know having owned horses forever, they can think about things. And when things aren't going their way, that's when they will assert themselves from push their weight around or whatever. Yeah. But otherwise they're pretty docile. You can teach a horse to be as docile as a dog. I mean, well-trained dog. And my point is, I'm just thinking Golden Tempo was sitting there as they turned to the stretch. He's sitting there going, look at all these guys banging into each other in front of me, and his jockey steered him out to the right side. Right. So he took him really path of least resistance. It was longer, but path of least resistance. And boy, everybody's talking about it was a 202 and change mile and a quarter, which is Secretariat's records, 159 and something. Yeah. But I'm just going, Secretariat ran a totally different race. It was a totally, this horse clearly, I never saw his final quarter mile time, but it had to be astounding. You know, you have that anchor leg guy on your relay team.
Yeah.
But I didn't mean to get carried away on this. I just really enjoy high level horse racing.
Do you think he came out of his seat when that horse was started? I have a feeling, Tim.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have a feeling at all. But you know what? Who did? My older son, Kyle, bet on Golden Tempo, and I said, "Why is that?" He goes, "I just liked his name."
Yeah.
I go, "Okay, whatever it takes."
Did he win big?
I got on. Yeah, he did.
Was it odds 23-1?
I can't remember what it ended up being. It was something like, it was like 17-1 or 19-1, or the odds kept changing, you know. But when he bet on him, I think he bet on him late. I get on twinspires.com. That's the only thing I ever bet on is the Kentucky Derby. And I had like 4 or 5 horses to win, you know, $10 a piece. And then my wife, it's the only time she ever gambles, is a trifecta. Her trifecta was in place at the first turn, but then it fell apart. She was really fired up, but you know, gamble like $60 or $70, didn't win a buck. But that's not the point. The point is, want to have a little touch in the game, so to speak. But that was just an incredible moment, and I hope people didn't mind me talking about that at the beginning of this. Actually, I don't care if you minded. But number 2, it drew a near record crowd, near record watch on television.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
Yeah, that Kentucky Derby, and that's because people have kind of gotten into this. You know, what goes around comes around. Pardon the expression. Horse racing. What goes around comes around. You hope, but people have kind of gotten into the Kentucky Derby again.
Yeah,
because it's sort of, you understand. But this is what I want to get to, Obie. This isn't like playing a football game. There does come a time in a football game when you got one play to win or lose it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If it's a close game. You only have one shot. A thoroughbred only has one shot at winning the Kentucky Derby. That's why you get goosebumps thinking about this horse took his shot.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Rampage was right there, the favorite. One of the 3 favorites was right there. And his brother, the jockey's brother, was riding that horse, and you went right past him. And I know he didn't see him coming, as I said earlier, until it was too late, you know. And that's what I like about it. It's now or never. Not you get another shot next week.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, no,
that's kind of cool, right?
Yep.
You were in sports contests your whole life.
No, I like that. And it is, there's optimize the opportunity, maximize the moment type of thing, you know. So
there you go.
Yeah. So
Coach Obie Stillwell.
Yeah. that coach side.
And the other thing, Alex Zanardi, bless his heart, he died over the weekend. I don't remember his exact age now. I'm drawing a blank. He's from Italy. I got to know him really pretty well when he ran in championship auto racing teams for the Chip Ganassi team. And because I was covering them at the time, Columbus had a couple of teams in it, Bobby Rahal's team, and then Tasman Auto Racing with Steve Horn, et cetera. And you know, this is a guy that just sort of in some people's minds came out of nowhere. He was like a nothing, sort of like Formula One driver, because in Formula One, you either have speaking of the horses, you have the right car or you don't. You know, there's no coming from the back of the pack unless everybody crashes in a rainstorm and you win a race. I mean, anybody watched the Miami Grand Prix over the weekend sees what I'm talking about. There are 3 or 4 teams right now that are capable of winning, only one of which can stay up there and week in and week out win. But my point was, he was sort of an also afterthought in Formula One, so he came to IndyCar. A hell of a talent.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you remember his story correctly, he wins the IndyCar championship, has a tremendous couple of seasons, goes back to Formula One, still couldn't get it done there because he still wasn't matched up. Then he comes back to IndyCar and suffers a horrendous crash at a race when they were trying to race in Germany and England there for a couple of years. He suffered a horrendous crash in Germany where he came out of the pits and kind of swung up into the track where he probably was a little bit impatient, and a car came along and hit him. Alex Tagliani, I think, was the guy that hit him and knocked the nose off of the car. Well, or IndyCar, anybody who knows an IndyCar knows you're sitting in the front part of the car as a driver, and it literally ripped his lower legs off.
Yeah.
Luckily, IndyCar's always had the best medical people in racing. They got to the scene, in essence, tied off his two legs to keep him from bleeding out, because he was basically just below the knee on both of them, where his legs were gone, and got him to the hospital by helicopter, and he survived. He went on to become a Paralympic gold medal bicycle, wheelchair participant, etc. Never gave up. Ended up driving specially formulated, specially designed race cars later on, where you could drive with your hands and stuff.
Pretty amazing.
But what was amazing about that crash was I was at a dinner featuring him and several other guys. He was sitting right next to me at Michigan International Speedway one of those years in 97 or 98. And I think it was the race where he actually won that race. Because you remember, CART didn't go to IndyCar, didn't go to Indianapolis 500 then, starting in 96. And Obie, we spent like 20 minutes of him explaining how he drove the car with his left foot on the dumb pedal in the car, so that they can put their foot there when they're braking, so they don't slide up into the cockpit. With his left foot there, and his right foot, he did what they call heel toe, where he could mash the gas pedal and the brake with his right foot. And that's why most people grew up racing, because way back when cars, you used the clutch to change gears. Well, Indy cars especially evolved just like Formula One cars, where you never touch the clutch after you get going, and you shift. The synchronized shifts you could do back when the orbital days, and then when they went to synchronized or sequential shifting, you just pulled a lever and it would change gears. And now, of course, they have the little paddles where you change gears. Well, he was still in the, I think it was, by then it was sequential gear, so he could shift with his right hand, but he never gave up driving with just one foot on his brake pedal and throttle, gas pedal. And that's why he was a genius on road courses. He thought that's what gave him the edge on road courses, was that he felt the car with his feet. You follow me? Mm-hmm. 3-4 years later, he loses both lower legs.
Yeah. There went.
But talk about belief. Right. Talk about drive. Talk about heart. He still came back and competed with what he had left. In the Paralympics, and then of course in race cars again a little bit. And he never got back to IndyCar in the sense of racing that little. But this was a man that was such a joy to be around. He didn't know English until he came to the United States and started learning English, and he could pull words out of his hat that I'd never even heard of. When he was talking to us, because he learned English. He didn't grow up speaking English. He spoke Italian and maybe a couple other languages over there, because you have to be multilingual. You have to have multilingual and live in Europe and stuff. But anyway, my heart goes out to his family, because he's one of the great individual people I've ever met in my life, and it was sad to see him pass away. But boy, did he rise to the challenges time and time and time again. I'm out at he and Jimmy Vasser, his teammate. He had won the kart championship, I think, in 96. These, you can look these up, but driving for Chip Ganassi. So in 97, it was Alex who took over sort of like the lead role in that team, but Jimmy Vasser was still his teammate. They showed up at Honda out here at Marysville on a little short track they've got there, not the big TRC track, but just to put on a demo for the Honda people, because that was the engine they were using. Yep. And I'm sitting there talking to Zanardi in like a trailer, and you can hear the car going around the track, and it's Jimmy Vasser driving the car. Yeah. And Alex says, team, because he knew who I was. He goes, team, give me a minute. I need to go out here to the track. And I went, okay. And he went running out to the track, and he came back. Well, Jimmy Vasser had borrowed his helmet, because he forgot his helmet. Mm-hmm. He had borrowed Alex's helmet to drive the car in, because you don't get one of those unless you're strapped in and the helmet on. And he goes, I had to see, he goes, I'm doing this, I shouldn't be doing his accent. I had to see, I had never seen my helmet in my car without me in it before. So he was curious. I mean, what a weird thing, but he's like imagining that's me. That's what I look like when I drive around, live. But what a stupid thing. I didn't mean to get off on that, but
and you thought he only covered football.
right.
All right,
yeah. Oh,
minutes.
yeah. I'm sorry.
No, that's great.
But Alex Zanardi is one of the great human beings I ever met in my life for all kinds of reasons. And I wanted to get that in. Now let's get to Obie's Breakfast Club. You can take over from here, Clay. But you, of course, you'll do anything for a free breakfast is what I learned over the week. But just tell us what this is all about.
Well,
by the way, Obie Stillwell, former Ohio State football player,
a
former walk-on who earned a scholarship, as he told you a minute ago. One of the great people we've met in our life.
I'm going to go back to, we used to do our pregame and postgame stuff in the south end zone of the shoe when we were allowed to do so before Ohio State kicked us out or whatever they did. And so I would see this guy, him, who would be walking by, $1 million smile, always chatting somebody up.
Always.
After about 6 weeks, I go, who is that guy? And anyway, we finally met, et cetera, et cetera. And he became an analyst and a soothsayer on our Football Fever shows.
You recruited him.
But I did. And now he wears so many hats. And he's still doing the football on ABC6. But what I've grown to know about him is, and I wrote down like 14 adjectives for you. I mean, the community engager, the uniter, the positive energy, the connector extraordinaire. I asked him one time, why do you get such a kick? He loves putting people like minds together who can achieve something, and he continues to do that. And I mean, we eat breakfast. Hang on the phone. Well, listen, you got to meet. But anyway, so this thing started, as he pointed out the other day, with 18 people. What was it supposed to be?
Yeah. Thanks for those kind words. I initially just started as a just an opportunity to help people who were transitioning in business, either mostly especially out of college and then out of the military. And a lot of times when I say out of the military, meaning they were becoming civilians, right?
Yeah.
And then individuals that were not going on to play professionally, but going into the workforce, or they had been playing professionally and no longer had a resume, and they were like, or their resume was only the NFL, which is like, okay, that's cool, but it doesn't serve well in the workspace. So I just wanted to create an atmosphere in which people could actually learn about these individuals and kind of interview them in a very calm, chilled, relaxed space without all the isms that go along with just meeting someone initially, right? And so I tried to create more of an experience, and I feel like if I created an experience, then people can, they'll kind of align with each other through the experience, and then kind of learn from each other through that experience. So, I've worked to get the right people, quote, right people in the room. And people are like, well, what is the right people? Right people are people who are decision makers, people who can be influencers. And first one, like you said, it was 18 people. It was all men. So we're all suited up, and a law firm had actually said that they would sponsor us. And I was sitting around having a conversation with Luke Fedlam.
Yep.
And
one of my favorite people, by the way.
Yeah. Luke Fedlam and Josh Jackson and Lloyd Pierre-Louis, another attorney. And I was like, what I would really like to do, and this is literally what I had said, because I knew that there were people that needed help in this sports sector, right, and military. And I said, man, you know what I wish I could do? I wish I could bring all of my white friends together with all of my black friends, and bring them together. And I think we could probably do something pretty cool. And Luke was like, I'd sponsor that. We would sponsor that. And I'm like, really? You know? And it's like, yeah. So that was the first Obie's Breakfast Club, was birthed out of that sponsorship. And then it was 18 people. And then I remember going to, maybe about a year or so later, I went to Gene Smith and told him about it, because athletes were actually getting internships and stuff like that through this. And it was extremely inclusive. And I told Gene about it, and Gene asked me, he's like, hey, are there any women involved? And I said, no. And he said, idiot. Literally called me an idiot. He said, you're an idiot. He said, you're an idiot for that. And I was like, what? I was like, all right, Gene, why are you saying that? He said, because he said, do you know how many female CEOs are here in Columbus, Ohio? Like, the influence of women, you have to get. I said, well, it wasn't because I was trying to exclude them.
Right.
I just brought the guys together. It's like,
trying to get a posse going. Yeah.
He said, get women involved. I was like, all right. So I got women involved in the next one that I had 80 people. Went from 18, and then we went to 20 some, 30 some, and then I invited women, and then I had over 80 people. And then now, I think just last week we had over 185 in the room, and that's 7:30 in the morning. So that's pretty intentional. Yep. Nobody shows up at 7:30 accidentally, right?
Well, it is Obie's Breakfast Club, not Brunch Club.
Right.
Yeah. But no, what room was that, by the way? Was that at the stadium?
Recruiting room.
Yep.
Second floor.
Yep. Yeah. So in the horseshoe. So.
Yeah. And bell tower.
He had an interesting line about that too, about being in the recruiting room, which you were not allowed.
Oh yeah. So I wasn't recruited to Ohio State, so I was never invited into the recruiting room. Ohio State had never reached out to me and said, hey, we want you to come, blah, 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 blah. So there's a little bit of irony in that I now rent out the recruiting room, and I can invite whoever I want to invite to, right? So, and I remember being in high school and not feeling enough to be in that room, you know, and I think every one of us at some point in time in our life have felt like not enough. And so now I get to invite people into this room, and I'm like, everybody's enough. Just come on in. And it's a great experience. Ohio State, obviously, at the Horseshoe, it's a beautiful room to be in. And you think about just the historical background of so many different players. That's where they start, is in the recruiting room. Yeah. And so there's a lot of metaphors you can come up with when it comes to the recruiting room.
Yeah, I've got one because this doesn't start with prayer, but it does start with a little bit of meditation. It's a mood of gratitude. And he asks everybody in the room, he takes a mic and says, tell them what you say.
I said, we're going to kind of do a little grounding. Like, everybody has hustled to get there, right, in the morning, and everyone has gone through something a little different to get there, whether it's dropping off the kids or, you know, I had to let the dog out earlier, you know, what have you, but they're on the road, they're on the highway, and they finally get there. And I kind of want to do something that grounds us, but also something that kind of creates a solidarity in humanity, in that we just get to the core,
the crux of it all.
Who we really are. And so I asked everyone, I said, for like 30 seconds, I said, just think about whoever it is or was. This person can be alive, living now, or someone who has passed. It could be a coach, it could be a teacher, it could be a neighbor. But think about someone who you know for sure, 100%, that you would not be in this room right now if it was not for them. If it was not for something that they did maybe they advocated for you. Maybe they said a positive word right at the right time that you needed. And so we're just going to hold still. We're going to bring the energy of what they gave you in that moment of whatever it was. We're going to bring that energy and we're going to pay homage to the people who are responsible for you being in this room.
Interesting. It's almost like AA, Achievers Anonymous. You tell your story.
Yeah.
That's cool. The thing that gets me about it, like, the word, as you were talking about that, is you want people to feel, in essence, comfortable.
Yeah.
Being around strangers who quickly aren't strangers anymore, right?
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, like you just said, former athletes, former especially big time athlete football players.
Yeah.
As the old saying goes, the NFL stands for not for long.
Yeah.
Because if you get there, very few get the signing bonuses of a Caleb Downs or a Arvell Reese or something. The point is, football ends. Obie Stillwell, I've quoted you 1 million times. You don't even know this. But I remember interviewing you. I was using my phone. I was out on my back porch talking to you about something a long time ago. And you had this, as a matter of fact, it might have been about you starting this group, from where I remember. But you pointed out football, more than almost any other sport, is somebody else tells you it's over. Meaning, I don't know if you remember telling me this, but I started thinking, a coach cuts you. Your doctor tells you can't play on those knees anymore.
Right.
Maybe the little voice in your head tells you before anybody else, but you get told you don't get to play football anymore for one reason or another. Yeah. And you don't just go out and have a pickup tackle football game at 45 unless you're a total idiot.
Right.
Right. And to me, I've used that quote 1 million times. I have attributed it to you only from the standpoint of, yes, no matter what you're seeing, no matter the glory you're seeing. We're seeing Jeremiah Smith get interviewed at the Miami Grand Prix yesterday, and he's talking about this Lamborghini he owns. We can get into that in a minute, which is pretty funny. But the point is, one day or the other, that's going to come to an end, even for the greatest of players. Yep. Now, the good thing is you make enough money now, you can put it away. And if you're smart, you can live on what you make for the rest of your life. But most guys, even in the NFL, they get cut and they don't have enough money to live on for the rest of their lives. Yep. And you made this good point about it's all about finally, just like football, you stress so hard for a football team to be a family, for a football program to be a family, not just the players, but everybody else involved. And that's kind of what you're generating post-football, post-basketball, post-women's sports.
Here's the thing. Here's one of the things that I tried to be very intentional with is, like, a lot of times individuals have in the past, and some still try to attempt to do this, is they create networking events with a athletic
bent.
Yeah, like this athletic excitement. We're going to have all the top athletes at this networking event.
Yeah.
We're going to have some of your best stars at this networking event. And at the end of the day, I'm like,
that's just to get people in the door, right?
Yeah. And I didn't want to create that pretense. I didn't want that. I wanted it to be created, and I wanted our foundation to be real people in the community. Because I believe that's the sustainability. I don't want to, because what's going to happen, a lot of us as athletes, unless you've been, conditioned in a certain way to be very public and engaging and all that kind of stuff, what's going to happen is all the athletes are going to stand in the corner, right? And be athletes and wait for people to come to them and say hello and look at them like they're, on display, right? And
autographs
instead of like engaging. And so I was like, no, I'm going to go community first. Then I'm going to bring the athletes. If you really look around the room, there's very few athletes that are actually out of that 185 plus people that were there. They're probably 5, like maybe 3 or 4 Buckeyes, but probably maybe there are other athletes, but not like Ohio. Like, this is not built on Ohio State. But like the last one, I didn't even know she was coming. But Katie Smith showed up. She had bought a ticket the morning of, but I was like, maybe this is another Katie Smith. And it's like, no. And then she came up behind me, tapped me on my shoulder. I'm like, Katie. She's like, oh, well, I'm trying to support you whenever I can. And, and he said, she's like, I love coming to Obie's Breakfast Club. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
but it is built by the people for the people at the end of the day.
Gotcha.
And I think that's the sustainability. And if athletes come, I mean, originally it was for that in mind, but if they come, great. If they don't come, I hate to say it, but I don't really care, right? I like you can come. I want you to come. I want to, but the athletes that I hit, most of them are on the panel. Like they'll come and have a conversation, but sometimes I think as athletes we are conditioned to be reached. Like we're so used to people reaching for us that we don't ever do the reaching unless we're asked or told, or hey, why don't you come and go to the hospital, or why don't you come and help here or help here? But me being a preacher's kid, my father was the executive director of Community Action Program, Head Start. I was taught from ground up that you reach into the community, you help other people, you put your needs aside, try to figure out what you can do, seek to understand, as Stephen Covey said, highly effective 7 habits of highly effective people, I believe it is. He said, seek to understand, then to be understood.
Yes.
So that's kind of how I try to lead my life, but also lead in this Obie's Breakfast Club.
You know what was, I walked in the other day and I probably missed, how old is the club? 3 years?
It was started in 2015. Then we stopped for a minute. Then we started again, and then COVID hit. Then we stopped again, and then so this is probably since COVID. It's probably the fifth year, fourth or fifth year.
So I walked in, and everybody's arriving, but I'm looking over, and there are tables of companies who have come to do their own selling.
Yeah.
Because they know there are some movers and shakers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I go to the next table and there's merchandise for Obie's Breakfast Club. And I was like, you arrived.
Yeah.
And,
no, it was a company that reached out to me, and it's oh goodness, Naveen Promos. I can't think of the name of this company, but we essentially created a partnership. He's like, hey, you need some promos gear, and I've already had a quote, which was, it's easier, it's harder to hate face to face.
Yeah.
Right. It's harder to hate face to face.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we can get face to face, I think we can kind of tear down some walls of racism, sexism, all these isms. And so I was glad that you saw the merch table, and hopefully people will start buying some stuff.
And yet he's wearing that cap, Thriller in Manila, where two guys went face to face and tried to beat the hell out of each other.
You know what? My father lives in Louisville, Kentucky,
Gotcha.
and I always go to Muhammad Ali's museum.
Yeah.
And we go there. I don't always go to the museum. I've been to walk through the museum, but I always go to the merch shop and see if they have new hats or whatever.
Wow, I like that
and
one.
I can get it online,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I want to say I got it from the store. Yeah.
Amen, brother. Yeah. Amen.
Well, I interviewed him when he was at Mississippi State. He came to speak.
Oh, really?
And I was at the...
You talking about Muhammad Ali?
Yeah, I was at the school newspaper and whatever. And then, because I was like, I really want to get a picture, because people always like Clay, Clay's, it would somehow they would be Cassius Clay. People would, anyway. So I loved his style.
Yes.
And
who didn't?
Anyway, I got a framed picture, an autograph, and he is leaving the Union at Mississippi State University, and there's a throng of people, and literally chasing him. He's bigger than life.
Yep.
And though it just it's always held a special place, and I'll have to find the story that I wrote. But anyway, it's just like I have the side that I converted this bedroom to an office. I have a side on the right side. It's the Hall of Fame. It's me doing a sports cast with Magic Johnson. It's Ali. It's Nicholas. It's there's 3 or 4 there.
Obie Stillwell's on there.
Bingo. And I'm like, I said, I defy anyone to top this.
Yeah.
So because, anyway,
The greatest. The greatest.
And it's not idol worship. It's just that I rub shoulders with these people.
Yeah.
And I still try to do the shuffle.
Yeah.
Sugar Ray Leonard came here in 2 or 3 years. Anyway.
Yeah. I never, it's funny. I never got into that. I mean, because I've been around
All of them.
I've been around big time people, and I've never thought about getting my picture taken with them or anything else. I'm not knocking anybody that does. I mean, Dom Taveri has a shrine to himself, I think, down in his basement. No, Dom, I'm kidding, Dom. If you listen this long, Dom.
Well, we have Lamar Odom coming in September.
There you go.
And so he's
This is his second trip.
Yeah, second time coming, and so we're doing some
Talk
things
about an interesting person.
Yeah. So it's September is Suicide Prevention Month. So we're going to bring him in. So we have our next one is June 18th, and we're going to talk about affordable housing and some different things. So every Obie's Breakfast Club has a conversation, and a theme, and we do the networking around that particular theme. So a lot of people are getting excited that Lamar is coming in September, and so we're going to do something with not only with the athletes but also with the military and different things of that nature. So, but I'm hoping to get even more nationally recognized individuals to come to Columbus and sit down and have some conversations. It was real cool. Urban Meyer, I had a real cool conversation. Urban Meyer's been to Obie's Breakfast Club, and I don't know if I told you this or not, but I basically
was this one at Easton?
Yes.
And he sat down with you.
Yes. And so Eddie George was actually supposed to be the one that was going to be because we were doing a mental health and wellness event and Obie's Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
And Eddie, as I look at the picture on the wall, my buddy Eddie, he canceled on me. And I'm like, what in the world? Like, I was like, it was like a month and a half, 2 months, like before the event, and he cancels, and I'm like, bro, like you just put me in a really bad position. Like my sponsors, like we got promotions, we got all that kind of stuff. Who am I going to get that's going to be at the same level of Eddie George that our sponsors are going to be okay with, right? Yeah. And I'm just kind of thinking that while everybody's getting all excited because he went from Tennessee State to Bowling Green,
right?
And Eddie George, Eddie, and I'm like, I can't stand him right now because I got to switch this whole thing up. So I end up reaching out to God bless her soul. She's an amazing person. I love her, Shelly Meyer. So I end up reaching out to Shelly, and I'm like, Shelly, I need a favor. I text her, I need a favor. And I say, when can you talk? She's like, call me in an hour, right? And I was like, so I called her, and she's like, what's up? What's going on? I said, I need your help. She's like, what's going on? I said, I had Eddie for an event, and now he had to cancel, right? Because he just got this job at Bowling Green.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah. That's pretty cool. That's pretty, Irvin was helping him with that. And I was like, yeah. I said, well, I'm just figuring since it was kind of Urban's fault, maybe, maybe he'll come and he'll be, he could take Eddie's place. And she just cracked up laughing. She's like, oh, Obie, Urban is so busy. I said, I know. And I am in a bind. And she was like, all right, listen. Let me ask him. So about took a day or two.
Yep.
She calls me back. She's like, Obie, Urban told me to just give you his number. I was like, really? She said, yep. She said, give him his number. It's like, give him my number and tell him to call me. And so I called Urban. I was like, Urban, blah, blah, blah. He's like, listen, you've always been a good guy. I've never heard anything bad about you. And I think it's, I'd love to help you out. So so he helped me out. He came in. Shelly gave me a heads up. She said, listen, Urban is going to probably talk maybe 20 minutes.
Yep.
Maybe 30 minutes. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
She said, Obie, he's not. Do you have other speakers?
Yeah, exactly.
She said, do you have other speakers? Because Urban is not. And I said, I do. And she said, okay. Like, so just plan for maybe 20 minutes, tops half hour. 20 minutes into our conversation, Urban's asking me, do we have time for this? Do we have time for another story? Do we have another? Urban went over an hour talking, him and I on that stage talking.
He got caught up in it.
And he was like, and Urban has never hugged me. It's the first time Urban ever gave me a full frontal hug, pause, but full hug, right?
Yeah, like Goodell.
Yeah. And he he says, when I hugged him, he says, you're really good at what you do. And I was like, thanks, coach.
Yeah.
But I know that he, anybody's been around Urban.
Here's the thing, what you're saying. See, people, I did a thing with Urban for 2 years called Urban's Take. After everything went down to Jacksonville and all that, malarkey. And I have always liked Urban. Matter of fact, I've known him since he was like 21, 22 when he was a GA and stuff. And Urban, I think the best way of describing him back in the day was he's not a real lovable kind of character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, fuzzy, warm and fuzzy. But man, you get him involved in something that he cares about or believes in, or he's not real big on wasting his time is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So for him to devote himself like he did to your situation shows you, number one, his respect for you. Is number two, he was into it.
Yeah.
You follow my drift?
Yeah.
That bodes well for you, because people think about Urban at one interaction he had one time with a sports writer down in Florida. That wasn't the way he treated us at Ohio State.
Yeah.
He never got on the bully's pulpit there and reamed us like Nick Saban used to do the reporters down in Alabama and stuff.
Yeah.
Urban never did that.
Yeah.
But he has this public perception out there that he's that kind of guy, when in fact he's not. But he is a don't waste my time kind of guy.
Yep.
That's what Urban's about.
Yep.
So for him to devote time like that to what you were doing, I think speaks highly of what you're all about right now.
I appreciate that. And I think, I always look back, because like I just was on a Zoom call earlier this morning with because now I'm also, I know everyone knows me, not everyone, but a lot of people know me from that. What I do within the community is Obie's Breakfast Club, but I also run a nonprofit organization where we have 248 units of affordable housing specifically for elderly and disabled.
Wow.
So
what's the name of it?
It's a community reach.
A community reach.
A community reach. So and we have about 4 other impact areas, but that's like our main thing, right? So we have over 350 residents of elderly and disabled. So I do a lot of potlucks and different things, because I get invited by a lot of my residents, to sit down and talk and all that kind of stuff.
Casseroles.
Right, exactly. which is super cool. So I forget where I was going with that, but at the end of the day, I was on a Zoom call this morning, and I was having a conversation concerning what we're working on as our project, right? We're doing some redevelopment with some of our properties, and the guy gets on and he says, hey, I know you, I've been a fan of you, I've watched you on TV, and he said, and my mother watches you, and my mother knows that I'm in affordable housing, and she's like, you have to meet Obie Stillwell, because I just saw a post that he's doing affordable housing. And I bring that up because I cannot thank Clay enough for giving me an opportunity to be on the Football Fever, because there's a part of that has inevitably allowed me to be in people's living rooms, in which they have exposure, and be able to, I think the best compliment that I've ever gotten, and I've gotten this probably about 3 or 4 times, right? And one of the best compliments that I can ever get, and I received this, and they said, man, you're just like I thought you would be in person. The same way you are on TV, you're like that in person. And I was like, and I remember talking to my wife about that, and she's like, there's so many people that are one way on TV.
Yep.
And then you see them at the mall or you see them at the store, and they're totally different. They're a totally different person.
Not to be bothered.
Yeah, not to be bothered. And I think the authenticity that Clay brought over all those years, right, was, I think there was an aspect that him and I had that was this yin and yang flow. And people would ask me all the time, it's like, are you guys like friends? Do you guys like talk and stuff like that after the show? And it's like, I said, yeah, like, it's like, you guys act like you like each other. I said, we actually do. We had a couple road trips and stuff like that. Good, like great conversations. And we always end up talking about family, right? We talk about family, friends, God, right? Yeah. Very little do we talk about like, hey, I'd asked them many times. I'm like, Clay, tell me, what can I do to be better? What can I do? He's like, he just wave his hand. Just keep doing you. Just keep doing you.
We'd get back, when Obie was going on the road with me, the iteration of the fever would change year to year. But when he was going with me, I would come back to the office and like the higher ups. And I would always tell the news directors, I cannot believe how popular he is among 85-year-old white women. and I didn't mean it in a derogatory.
My wife, Heather, says the same thing. She said, I am not worried about someone from 21 to 30 taking you. It's the ladies that are 75 and up. That's what I'm nervous about. And I was like, that is... That's great. So right. 75 and up, man. Yeah. That's my market. That's my demographics. Yeah. But anyhow,
hey, you either got it or you don't.
Yeah. But I think that has what has led to Obie's Breakfast Club. Yeah. Right. Being able to show the authenticity of who I was, even on air. DeVere Posey, I remember talking to him. You remember the situation with the whole tattoo gate. I was walking on the sidelines. It was the game that DeVere came back. It was like I think him and I have talked about it probably a couple months ago. And he's like, I was walking on the sidelines. You were walking on the sidelines. And he said, no, I remember. He came up to me and he said, thank you so much for what you said while I was suspended. He said, there's so much negative talk about us. Yeah. And he said, you were like big bro. You always kept it big bro to us. And my biggest thing was like, whenever there's an athlete in trouble, there's also an adult that was co-conspirator to that, right? Yes. There's an adult that initiated something, right, with that. And he was like, thank you so much. So there were times that we would have conversations on air, but it would allow me to be an advocate, if you will, for various players or coaches or what have you. I remember Coach, the offensive line coach that end up going to Michigan. Who's the? He didn't. I think he's at FAU. Who went to FAU also?
Ed Warner.
Thank you,
Coach Warner. Yeah. Coach Warner, after the press conference, came up to me and asked me that I have his phone number. And I was like, no. He's like, put my number in your phone. And he's like, thank you for what you said on air, which really was another thing. Shocked me how many coaches watch Football Fever. I was like, these coaches are watching to see what we say about them. And then I think it was Luke's wife, Luke Fickle's wife, had stopped me when we were at I think it was Maryland or Wisconsin, one or the other. I think it was Maryland, but she stopped me and said, thank you so much for what you said. But again, I think it kind of just bled into Obie's Breakfast Club because people have like been able to see like, okay, he seems like a straight shooter. And obviously I'm not perfect. My wife can contest to that. But I think the authenticity of humanity is what I think people are looking for.
What you hope spills over in the Breakfast Club is that everybody speaks from their heart.
Yeah.
Right. There's authenticity there.
Intentionality.
Yeah. Intentional. Yeah, exactly. I mean, for example, you know, Luke Fedlem is one of my favorite people of all time, you know, and when I find out he's involved, I go, yeah, well, that must be a credible thing, because he wouldn't keep showing up at something that was stupid. That not only does it do him a world of good to be there, but he can help others, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Luke's, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Anyway, it struck me early on that you want to see the best in everyone, and you want everyone to have a good day. I mean, it's and the uniter thing to me is, and I think because we're all products of our environment. Born in Mississippi, didn't live there any time, worked for this minority-owned station, and just the example that Michael Rubenstein set of course, all right, we're going to cover the SEC, but this market is 55% African American, and we're going to cover them just like we cover Alabama and Ole Miss. And
what about Mississippi State?
Yeah. I would get them in there too. And so when I came here, and there's a lot of white faces on TV, but anyway, and that's meant a lot to me. That people,
go
ahead.
No, I mean, it shows that's a part of your, I think, Clay, your legacy is that there's some people who don't see everybody, right?
Yes.
They a lot of times what they do is what happens is, and I'm very proud that in that room it's a very inclusive and very diverse room. But sometimes when people are creating something, they clone themselves.
Yeah.
Right? They clone people who talk like them. They clone people who look like them. They clone people who behave like them. Right? And so now all of a sudden you have an organization that is just a mimic of what the CEO or president is. Right? And so what I try to do, and what Clay has done, and again, it reverberates throughout the program, right? It reverberates throughout the community, that Clay has always been someone that sees other people beyond himself, right? And I think that it shows when you look at Football Fever, the legacy that he still leaves behind. When you look at myself and you look at Jay Richardson, you know what I'm saying, and you look at Kellyanne, right? You're saying, oh, listen, I want to make sure that minorities and women are represented in this, and I think that will probably forever be your legacy. And I believe that is a part of what I've tried to mimic at Obie's Breakfast Club, is to like not just clone myself, right? And create and reach out to people that are not easily seen. And it's interesting because when I originally started, I would get on LinkedIn and I would be on LinkedIn for hours to the point that it would shut me down, right? But the algorithms would always take me to people of color with the business connections and relationships or what have you.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. That's interesting.
I had to purposely make the algorithms take me somewhere to white men, white women, right? And so that I could keep this room at a balance. And I think that's a part of even what our sponsors, we got Tell Ohio Credit Union, got Citywide Facility Solutions, we have S&T Bank, and then we have Associated Insurance Agencies. Those are our main sponsors, and then we have other partnerships. But those are organizations that are also looking for inclusion, because they know that when you create this inclusive environment, it breeds the greatest amount of creativity and success.
Yeah. A beehive is all about one thing, right? Making honey, and protecting the queen. And no hornet should ever go in a beehive. Right. But you don't want a beehive.
Right.
You want diversity. You want, it's more like a flower being pollinated, by different. I won't get into that. That's I said we leave sex out of this. Let's get to some. By the way, when Clay was there, he talked to a couple of Buckeye related, Ohio State related, football related fellas.
Yeah.
One of which was the Quiet Storm, the ultra back, Raymont Harris. And Clay, which soundbite you want me to run first with Raymont? I mean,
I think
where he's talking about his new gig, because he worked for the athletic department for a long time at Ohio State and was really good at what he did and
I
stuff.
think the longer one is better.
Well, I don't know what the longer one
First
is.
one.
So
Should be the first one.
which is, what was that? You mean his new gig, so to speak?
Yes.
Well, you know what?
Because
Let's see if this is that. Okay.
Yeah. Go.
Wait a minute. Here we go. Ready?
You, longtime athletic department staffer, fundraiser for Gene Smith, etc. You've taken a different path now. Can you tell me what it's like and why you sort of went out on your own?
You know what, man? I loved working at Ohio State. It's my alma mater. I was a product of the department. I believed in the mission, and being able to to reconnect my former players as well as bringing new alums into the scene was amazing to me. But once I realized it wasn't my life passion, I created these controllables, and I started working on them, and it really took my entire attention. So once that happened, I said, you know what, man, I'm gonna bet on myself, and I quit my job on good terms. We're gonna call it retirement. I retired from Ohio State and threw my all into EMP, and that's where we are now. 4 years later, I got a business. I'm writing books. Life is good, man.
So you speak to companies. Are you? I know people sometimes don't like motivational speaker.
Yeah.
But you do that. Can you tell me how this sort of? There's some synergy here with the psychology of winning. What does that mean to you?
Okay, I agree. I am not a motivational speaker. I focus more on control. So I created this framework called Control the Controllables. And what I truly believe is, Clay, people always ask me how I made it out of these really tough, tricky circumstances in childhood. And what I actually did was I went back in life and I identified the 8 controllable things that really helped me get from crazy beginnings to success.
Yes.
And I have now taken that, put it into a framework, and that's what I teach and work with and coach people, whether it's in corporate America, whether it's education, healthcare, and of course in college athletics. So to me, it's a combination of your mindset and your performance, and more importantly, how you're able to do that under control. Because if you're, under pressure, being able to tap into control under pressure is the key to changing your life.
The Quiet Storm, no more. The ultra back. Now the ultra. What? He's not a motivational speaker. He's just the ultra what?
Yeah, that's a thing that people in that framework there, as he said, they don't like the word motivation. And I was always waiting to be motivated.
It's funny because I told him I may ask him this question, but I didn't even get to it. But him and I laugh about it because some of those road trips that I would drive to Penn State. Him and I, one year, him and I actually rode together, and then we went to Pittsburgh, Philly. We went to Philly together. Malcolm Jenkins was playing for Philly, and he has a Malcolm Jenkins Foundation, and we went to that particular event. And so anyhow, we're hanging out, and I remember talking to a young kid who was thinking about walking on, and I'm on the phone talking to this kid, and Raymont is just over there shaking his head in disgust, and I'm bro, what is this dude doing? Why and I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to get off the phone so I can hear, what nonsense are you about to talk about, Raymont? And he's Obie, he got off the phone. I'm I look over, I'm Raymond, what are you, bro, why are you looking at me like that, man? He's I just can't believe you tell these people this stuff. And I'm what are you talking about? He's he said, you talk about you walking on and earning a scholarship, And you're telling these people that they can do that too. And I'm like, yeah. Like, you believe it? You can put. He's like, that's not true. Like, what? He's like, bro, like, what you did was very special.
Yeah.
It's like, you walked on, you made the team, you made the 60-man traveling team as a first-year walk-on, and you earned a scholarship. People don't just do that.
Yeah.
And you're gonna tell these kids out here that, hey, all it's gonna take is belief. No, it takes more than that.
Sure.
Right? You had to be talented. You had to come in at the right time. You had to avoid injuries. You had to believe. Yeah. You had to do all that. But bro, like, stop telling these kids that they can do anything they want to. They believe. And I'm like, Raymont, bro, like, you are such, but we laughed about it like a month ago, right? And he's like, I still believe that.
Yeah.
And, you got to find out what it is for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then control the things that are for you.
Yeah.
But you can't just pick someone else's dream and say, I'm going to do that because I believe.
Yeah.
Like, nah, takes more than that.
But you got to believe too.
But you got to believe too.
You got to believe too.
But it takes more than that. So yeah, the motivational speaker thing, I get what he's saying. It's like,
let's get to what his new book's all about. Let's get that real quick. We're running out of time.
Ohio State football is controlling the controllables.
They absolutely are, man. The amount of success that they're having, they haven't identified like where things are important, right? They're fun. They put funds and resources and energy into like the areas that they believe that they control. And when you really think about it, Clay, I mean, I would say like with the program over the years, it's got to be one of the top 1 or 2 programs like in all the college sports.
You got any pointers for Mick Marotti today?
You know what, man? Mick is not someone that needs any pointers when it comes to, he gonna have to keep up. I'm gonna say, yeah, you better have a sense of humor out there on the stage, because you know what, once me and Obie gets together, we're gonna be mixing it up.
Yeah, pretty funny. Mick Marotti wakes up with pointers in his head. I mean,
that was before I didn't know that was before the event.
Yeah,
that's
because
that's
you
funny.
You get 190 people in that room wanting to talk to each other
Right.
after this
After
the 90-minute warm up.
Yeah.
You can't hear anything.
Right.
I've tried to do that before, and it's
I could hear the reggae band in the background. That's all I could make out as you were talking to those guys.
Yeah, that was actually EPMD.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah, you got to chill.
I got you.
So yeah,
I got you.
Yeah.
So Raymont made reference to him, correct? The director? Was that who he was talking about? Somewhere in the middle, he looked over at him, and he was he a former player?
Oh, you're talking about the DJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, the DJ was that's Dante Lee.
Okay.
You never heard of, you don't know?
I know
Tim,
Dante Lee.
Yeah, Dante Lee.
He's a DJ.
I know Darren
Wow.
Lee, but I didn't know.
No, yeah, Dante Lee was like
Running back from running back Jacksonville. No, where was he from?
Where is he from? He's from Dayton.
Dayton. Yeah.
But I mean, he was.
I got him mixed
baller.
up with. Yeah,
he was a baller, and then he lost his position. I think he might have got hurt, but I don't know if him and Coop, but I don't know exactly what it was, but I know right around that Robert Smith, right before Robert Smith, and right around that time. But that was who he was talking about. That his dad told him, oh man, my favorite running back is Dante Lee. Yeah.
Crazy.
So Dante Lee is like a national DJ now.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yes.
We got to get him on here.
Right.
Heck yeah, man. Hey, let's go real quickly because we're out of time, but we'll just keep. Obviously, Mick Marotti was at that program, and Clay asked him a few things, like, for example, what's it like working with Urban Meyer and then Ryan Day? I think you asked him to name his favorite parent, didn't you?
I looked
or
at
something like that.
I looked at the guy sitting next to me. I said, "That's exactly what I asked," because he said the same thing, and he was trying to get something out of it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, Mick Marotti.
I've learned from the best.
Mick Marotti is John Cooper. He said was born at night, but not last night.
Right.
He's not going to be.
He might have said that.
He's not gonna. He's not going, but let's see what he had to say. It was pretty funny.
Look, every team's different, so you analyze, you look and you say, this team needs this, this team, and I guess everybody on your team has a different performance regimen, correct?
Yep.
So it's customized. That's a hell of a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work this year going in with the 51 new players. Just kind of putting that all together, getting to know them, and then, just kind of going from there for the summer.
What's the gist of what you're going to tell the folks today?
Not really sure. Just kind of, just having discussion about, competition and winning and, your why and what it's all about, and just kind of answer questions and just make it open and honest and truthful and have fun.
Tell me the difference in Urban and Ryan Day.
There's not much difference.
Really?
They're very similar. I mean, Ryan does it his way and Urban did it his way, but they have the same beliefs, and it's been awesome to work with both of them.
The thing both of them did and are doing is they lean on Mickey Marotti heavily for all kinds of things, but one of which is get the team in shape, whatever you want to call it now. Isn't that funny, Obie? They're perpetually in shape now.
Yeah.
Even in your day, that wasn't always the case.
Yeah. I mean, our year 93 was actually the first year that over 90% of the players stayed. Yeah. That was the first year. So, and that was new for programs.
And you couldn't be supervised, like they can now. Talk about archaic times. So go ahead.
And it's interesting because Coach Mick, he talks about Al Johnson, who was before him. That was one of Coach Tressel's guy. I think he was out of West Virginia.
Yeah.
And then before him, obviously, was Coach Kennedy, Coach K.
Right.
And it's amazing that and Coach Mick alluded to this, right?
He did.
That you spend more time with your strength and conditioning coach than you do with your professors, with your head coach, and with your position coach.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, when I got an opportunity to talk to Coach K over COVID, and he's down in Tampa, and it was a powerful moment that for gratitude with Coach K that I was able to, I teared up and was like finally able to tell him thank you for all the discipline and all the things that he put in my life. And Raymont spoke to Coach K too, right? That was a defining moment where he was getting ready to transfer.
That was a great story.
Yeah. Go ahead. You can tell.
Raymont went in. Coach K said he heard that Raymont was going to transfer. So he called him in. Raymont sits down, ask him, is that true? Yes. And he said, okay, that's interesting. He said,
by the way, this is pre-transfer portal days. You'd have to sit out a year.
Exactly.
He was running down the sheet of what he had done. I see you're late to class. I see your lift. You're only doing it. Okay. He pointed out every issue that he wasn't giving his all.
Yeah.
And he ran them down, and then he said, good luck at your next school.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he walked out, and it's
wow.
And
but he said you're interested. You're not committed.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. He said you're interested.
You're interested.
You're not committed.
What's one of the great things ever happened to Raymont, by the way, in my opinion, football wise, was when Robert left the team. Because remember that one year, 1991, because suddenly Raymont was the guy.
Yeah.
He and I think Butler Benote, but he had to step up,
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's when you really find out what people are all about and stuff.
Right.
And I've always liked Raymont, the ultra back, the quiet storm from Lorraine Admiral King High School.
Yep. But then Eddie came.
Yeah. Eddie shows up. 92.
Yeah.
And 92 as a freshman.
Throws another wrench.
There you go.
Yeah.
And Eddie, man, I've had him on my show several times. Unlike you, I like Eddie. No, but yeah, Eddie had those two fumbles against Illinois. I think it was that one year that could have been touchdowns. And I remember telling him the next day, because I used to stand down there. You remember that, Obie? I used to stand down at the end of the hall there at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center back when it was in this other iteration. I was the only guy there, media-wise, usually. And I remember telling Eddie, man, keep your head up because you're going to do big things here one day, man. I just know it because he was really bummed out, you know. Yeah. And he went on and won the Heisman Trophy, so I take all credit. Take all credit for that. But guys go through trials and tribulations. The problem now is we won't get in on this. This will be a whole nother podcast. But now you've had a trial and tribulation, and the transfer portal window comes open. You're out of here.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when you go through that level of pain, right? Because it's painful.
Oh yeah.
It's painful when you feel like your dream is not going to be met.
Yes.
Right. So what happens now with the transfer portal, right? And whatever else, right?
Easy out.
It's an easy out, and it's almost what anybody would take, right? I mean, when you're going through that level of pain, but it is not productive for progress.
Right.
It's not, there's something about the stick to of this, of being stuck, right?
Yes.
In that you're stuck, right?
Work your way out of this.
Work your way out of this.
Yeah.
And I remember that. I actually remember going to Morrill Towers to go see Eddie. And I walked through the that first little area, right? And before you go back, and he has his door shut, and his roommates say he's not going to let you in. All he's doing, he's going to class, and he's coming. He goes to class, go to training table, and then he's going in his room.
Yeah.
And I knocked on the door, and nothing. And I come back to his roommates and stuff, and I was like, "Is he in there?" And they're like, "He's in there. He's just not letting anybody in."
Yeah.
Not Eddie. It's me. It's Obie. And open the door. And the door just opens slowly opens the door. And we sit there and we talk, and I'm like, bruh. He's like, man, my career is over.
Oh
Yeah.
He said, it's over. Bro, they'll never trust me again.
Yeah.
They'll never trust me again.
Yeah.
He's like, because if you remember before, they were yelling touchdown Eddie.
Oh,
because he came on every goal line, right? And they're like,
the big freshman who
Eddie.
pounds the ball into the
exactly.
end zone.
They called him Duke.
Yeah.
Jeff Cothran. I don't know if you remember that name.
Sure.
They named him Duke. You know where he got that name from? Marmaduke. Marmaduke.
Okay.
The dog Marmaduke. So his nickname became Duke, and he was the best thing since sliced bread until he fumbled twice.
Yeah.
And on the goal line, and and then he started. It sparked something in him, right?
Oh yeah.
If he had transferred, he never would have become Heisman. I believe that, and I think he would probably agree with
93 was his year in sort of like purgatory, for want of another term.
Yep.
But he stuck with it, etc. I think Fork Union helped him a little bit in that. I mean, just that Fork Union Military Academy, a little bit of background, it helped all kinds of things. Number one, he's just such a stout person. It's ridiculous what kind of stout person he is. But then 94, he kind of got a taste of it.
Yep.
In 95, he was the best running back in the country.
Yep. Hands down.
He won the Heisman, but he was the best running back in the country.
Right. No question about it.
And the transfer portal, but I think the transfer portal helps you as coaches now in this respect. There are some guys who aren't made for it, for being at an Ohio State or an Alabama or a Georgia.
Yep.
They're not made for that. Yep. And it gives them, it helps you really, instead of you having to go to them and say, hey, this isn't working out. Maybe their third uncle, as Urban calls them, or those guys go, hey, man, you make some money and go over there, get an NIL, and you're going to make the starting lineup over there, no problem. So, it's just too bad, because you've seen some guys come and go that if they'd stuck it out for Ohio State for another couple of years, not 1 year, they would have been all that. They would have been part of something. And you guarantee you 85% regret leaving. Guarantee it. There'll be some that didn't, but
especially Ohio State.
Right, because you're part of something that's
it's
bigger than you can imagine.
Yes.
Like the Obie's Breakfast Club, for example. Afterward, I was talking with I've talked to a bunch of guys like D. Miller the other day and stuff. The way former players still gravitate to Columbus, Ohio area, because there's a community of former Ohio State football players and athletes
I wrote that.
who like it here, but they also like talk about Obie's Breakfast Club. They have a club of their own. They don't, they kind of recognize that, but they lean on each other for advice, for maybe a helping hand when they need it and stuff. And you don't have that everywhere. Every major college. And plus you can become a success in Columbus, Ohio, because it's 2.2 million metro area now. You know what I mean? Just there are all kinds of reasons. It's why Ohio State is special. And I truly believe that. I mean, I grew up an Alabama fan, but Alabama, I don't think has that. I mean, Tuscaloosa, have you ever been to Tuscaloosa? You know what I mean? But state of Alabama, whatever. But my point is that's what, like Obie's Breakfast Club is a great example of having an attraction, having like a Mickey Marotti come speak to the group. I guess that's what he did, right?
Yeah.
Dude, this guy's respected around the world for what he does.
Top notch.
Not just the best Ohio State could find at the moment. This guy is maybe the best at what he does in the world. And he's so regular guy in dealing with people.
Because I text him.
Nuts.
I text him. He's like, absolutely. We had to figure out a little time or whatever. Hey, what about this? What about that time? But at the same time, and that goes, at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer. This goes back to Woody Hayes. This is stuff. Whenever you talk about Ohio State Buckeyes coming back to the community, diving into the community, helping in the community, being community minded, I believe that is the byproduct of the seed that Woody Hayes planted in this community, and it just continues to reverberate throughout time. I know I might have
paying it forward.
And,
but that relationship
and backward. You can pay it forward and backward.
But there's that. Well, the brotherhood. But I mean, I can recall many times when maybe a major story would break and I would come to you and I would say, what are the fellas saying? And it was like, all right, give me that viewpoint. Well, I was talking to this guy and he said, because they're all here. Most of them.
Well, and it's cool that there's times that we're on set and I can call different guys. I forget who was it that broke the tight end that caught so many catches in a game, and I called Ricky Dudley. And I was like, hey, Rick, how do you feel about that? And just to be able to hit him up and he just shoots me a quick text over, or like even Orlando Pace, right? And I hit him up on something like, what do you think? I remember reaching out to Vrabel. It's like, hey, man, what's making this team different? You know what I'm saying? And getting his insight on those different things. Sean Springs was one that could always reach out. And then now some of the Matt Wilhelm or whomever else, right, that I can reach out to and just ask a quick question to. But it is a brotherhood. But man, it stretches. There's so many Buckeyes in the community and politics and whether it's an attorney or a firefighter or business or whatever, we're there. And I think Obie's Breakfast Club is just a good, safe platform, right, to come and hang out, eat some good food, right, some good music there, and really actually meet some people that may help you progress
beyond
in life.
athletics.
All right, well, let's quick. We got to wrap this up because we could do 10 shows. Let's get to a couple more Mickey Marotti moments.
What do you like about 2026 team that you've observed and said, okay?
Yeah, I like there's I don't know how to describe it other than, there's a lot of new guys that are out to prove themselves, right, and also prove others wrong. So it's going to be, I'm looking forward to this summer.
And you're confident, excited, and it's a challenging schedule, right?
Challenge.
I mean, and so how do you train a person now in this CFP environment where Ryan Day and company, you guys had to go 16, 17 games deep?
Yeah. I think you take a similar approach. You're getting ready for camp, and then obviously the overall outlook is the long season, and with trying to play at the end of January is kind of where we're at. So you got to have a great base. You got to work on the things that they all need, and try to bring this team together.
That was some good stuff from Mick Marotti, man, because he really likes this 2026 team, like he pointed out. 51 new guys, Obie. I mean, compared to this time a year ago, just learning their names is a chore, much less. How are they all going to fit in the package, right? I mean, from a personality standpoint and everything else, it's a team's chemistry changes dramatically now from one season to the next. Isn't that crazy?
I think him having to know, just listening to that, now I'm kind of like, man, he probably actually absorbs the brunt of that.
Of course he does.
Portal. You know that transfer portal? I'm like, oh, man, because if he's the one that spends the most time with them, I think he even mentioned, too, where he that he had some freshmen that he really was pouring into, and then they left.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah,
you know, it kind of hurts a little bit, right?
Oh,
when you put that much into somebody.
Yeah. And then on top of that, like you said, the transfer portal works both ways. Number one, you lose some guys you've really worked hard to develop over a span of 1 or 2 years, but then you get new guys. And now, like, you know, guys come in from where they came from. You know, you heard what James Smith talked about, and Earl Little Jr., 2 transfers about at Alabama, and where Earl Little started at Alabama and went to Florida State, but they didn't do things the way Ohio State does them.
Yeah.
I mean, from a competition standpoint in the weight room, they never heard of things. The point is, you got to change habits. You know, of the guys coming in. Hey, let's get one more thought from Mick Marotti before we end this thing.
How do you approach your gig, your performance component, and how do you keep it fresh each and every season?
Yeah, great question. You know, we have a great team. You can't do it by yourself. You have to have a great team. And you're always looking for new ways. You're always exploring. You're always checking the recent research.
Okay.
You have people out there that provide you information. You look at it, you talk about it, and kind of go from there.
Well, we're going to kind of go from there too.
That's a great question. That was a great question.
Let me tell you
where'd that question come from, Clay?
That was our host, Timothy May, who
ask him this.
Who instructed me on that about 12 times.
But think about it, Obie. Every year you preach a certain thing. You can't preach the same thing.
Right.
Like you preach. You can't preach the same sermon every time you show up somewhere. You got to keep it fresh.
Right.
Because last year in 2024, whatever it was, it worked.
Right.
2025, it did not work. Finally,
right.
You did not win it all. You didn't even win a playoff game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now everybody who went through 2024 and 2025, they want to hear something different. I mean,
how have you changed your game with your wife? Like how do you keep it fresh, Tim? Like what are some things, like, help me out, man.
All right. When I sleep often by myself because I snore real bad, I make up my bed. No, you do. You know,
do you do anything romantically?
Oh,
like
yeah. I mean, we do. I'm not going to get into all that.
Give me something, one thing. Help me out, Tim.
Sometimes I'll clean the barn for her.
Oh, Tim.
You think I'm kidding about having horses?
That's a chore.
That's a chore.
Like, so she's acts and services out of the 5 levels.
But here's the thing.
Acts and services.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't do it right, so I don't get to clean the barn very often. You know what I mean? Unless she's desperate, she's out of town. Whatever I do is good. I'll tell you, our 2 horses get 3 hots in a cot, man. I'm not kidding you. Yeah, you heard John Cooper talk about that. Yeah, they got it better than most average humans.
What's the last thing you did to surprise her?
Wow, that's a good question, Obie. I will oftentimes stop by a store and get her a treat that I have to go out of my way to do.
Like a sweet treat?
Yeah, a sweet treat or something, something I know she would, she likes to have, and just to show I'm thinking about her.
Clay, what's the last thing you did? Get Pat, surprise Pat.
Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
Oh.
See,
so you got her diamonds recently?
Well, when I proposed the first time wasn't good. Second time I came with a new ring.
Wow.
And then when you finally get some, surplus income, because you're like, oh, I can really do this right. And I found this matching. I mean, she's diamond out. Now, don't come to my house.
You must have really gotten in trouble over the years.
Yeah. But
my wife is anti-jewelry almost.
Yeah, well, she's, I've told you 100 times, she's pioneer woman. She's out,
Yes.
and anyway.
My wife was an athlete, and she's tough as nails, really good looking. You know what I mean? All those things. I mean, but yeah, she's as independent almost as you can get, in terms of not needing to lean on me for literally almost anything. So we've always had, because, covering Ohio State football, as I like to say, we didn't get to start writing our stories till the game was over.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right on down the line.
Did she ever travel with you at any point in time?
No. We did that one time to a bowl game with me and our first kid, and it did not work out well.
One time.
Really?
When they were wanting to play, I was working, and when I was wanting to play, they were asleep. So it was like, no, I think that's
exact.
To being a reporter, this, man, you got to be nimble. You've got to be able to hang. Yeah. Because the only thing that you can say is to be there, you got to be there. And a lot of reporters don't believe in that or don't practice that. And but I've always believed that you got to be there. And that meant I saw John Cooper more during football season. I probably saw my wife because I was around the facility all the time.
Yeah. What's one thing before we get going?
He's got to go.
Yeah, I got to get going. But what I want to hear.
He's the one extending the conversation.
Let me ask both of you.
Trilla.
Both of you. What are the things that you did that set you apart that you see some of the younger reporters or different ones aren't willing to do?
Yeah, because I don't like to cast aspersions on other, because there are different ways of doing things now. You don't get to hang out like I used to hang out because there's too many reporters now, and they nixed that pretty much in the Tressel era from the standpoint of being able to have an edge up on somebody, because there would be 20 of us out there trying to get an edge up, instead of one, me standing at the end of the hall. But you always had to be thinking about what was going on and putting thinking ahead, getting stories ready in your mind to do, but always had to be, I used the word nimble a while ago. You never had a day off, because that's when the crap happened. Is you dare to take a day off, meaning checking in on a few things, checking in with your sources, et cetera, to see what was going on. And that's what gave me an edge back in the day. I'm not, Clay probably the same way, except I was covering pretty much Ohio State football, IndyCar racing, because of the local teams here, in boxing, like Buster and Douglas and stuff. I didn't. He had to cover the waterfront as a TV dude.
What was your edge?
One of a kind content. When they told us that we had to start shooting our own stuff, I was 52 years old. And I said, how am I going to make this work? And I had this little camera. I could be nimble.
Yeah.
And I would get in the car, and I would I'm going to do a story I know 4 and 10 don't have today.
Yeah.
Drove through a snowstorm one time to hook up with Ted Ginn Jr. after Roy Hall broke his leg, or somebody. In the national championship.
Oh, Roy sprained his ankle
on his back.
Yeah, sprained his ankle.
Yeah.
But it just freed me up to do all. I don't have
You didn't have to depend on anybody else.
I don't have to run the same. I don't have to do the VOSOT on the crew. I don't have to do, and they would, if it was worthy, they'd give me more than 30 seconds, because local television now is a couple of VOs and that's it. And so that challenged me to do something different. And I just remember a couple of people on the radio go, that was a hell of an idea.
Yeah.
While everybody else is covering this, he's up there. This is what is more interest worthy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Have you ever, last question, have you ever showed mercy because you knew that if you asked a particular question, it could break that coach or break that player? Have you ever showed mercy and it cost you, or every time you showed mercy, it actually worked out because you got something else, at another story or whatever? Do you understand when I say?
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah,
Have you
I did that. I'm not going to give examples.
Yeah, of course.
But dude, for example, when you've got sources, for example, nobody's ever going to know who my sources were at Ohio State, during the day, et cetera, because I won't even talk about it with other people.
Yeah.
Only because that's that person's job where they're working.
Yeah.
And, just because your editor wants to know who it is or something, well, you know what? Well, don't run the story is what I would say.
Yeah.
Because they want to be in on it, even though they're not in on it,
Yeah.
So if you don't trust it, then don't run it. But I'm not going to tell you who this is so that another person knows.
Right.
Because that's the best way for anything to get out, a secret to get out.
So you showed mercy to a coach because you knew something through a source, but you didn't. But did you ever not say something to a coach or a player, knowing?
Rarely did that ever happen. If it was something that didn't matter, yeah, I would. But I mean, the one thing I've always done, if I've got something on you, okay, I'm going to call you. I'm going to contact you and tell you I've got this. And I'm going to give you a chance to respond. If you don't, that's your fault. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then go ahead and run the story, whatever it is. It won't be as good without your input in it, but you had a chance to put your story out there to begin with, and you opted not to. Look at the people who get in trouble all the time is they first try to deny, then they try to sweeten or dilute the situation. Yeah. And that's when they get in the most trouble, like with the Tat 5 and all that thing. I mean, just think about that now. None of that stuff is illegal.
Yeah, right.
I mean, but the point is, that's when the person, like, for example, you're specimen A and you then try to deny it, or then more evidence comes about and shows not only were you involved, you were heavily involved, blah, blah, blah. Yep. And now you've dug yourself a hole that you didn't have to start digging in the first place. So,
Clay, what about you? Have you ever
yeah, I
eased
think
up
so.
on something?
I never eased up. I was very, 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 very competitive. So, I mean, I would kind of, when I got here and Channel 10 had 8, 9, 10 people in sports, I could not believe what was going on. I said, how am I going to compete with this? And so I never showed mercy to those folks, but maybe occasionally. And it did pay dividends. There might have been some little, I remember there was a story, and Urban had just started, and I looked at my photog, who I really respected his opinion. He goes, I wouldn't call him. Really? No. It's not that freaking big a deal. I mean, you're going to mess up the relationship in day one.
Are you talking about P-Gate?
And I called him. Yeah. And in fact, I saw him at Muirfield that day.
Yeah, that's where.
Yeah. And,
proximity.
And it wasn't, a major deal, but it came out. And, but I had his reaction.
P-Gate, Tim. What's P-Gate?
That's where a couple players were at the Bogey Inn and were leaving and needed to go to the restroom like I did a minute ago. They couldn't just pause recording. Need to go to the restroom, and they got caught in the parking lot going to the restroom, and that was that. And speaking of that was this.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on the Lay's Tim May Show, which basically, if you take a knife to it, could be 2 shows. But Obie Stillwell, thanks for joining us, my man.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. And Clay Hall, it's always featuring Clay Hall. When he's not here, it's an upset. But ladies and gentlemen, until next time, we'll see you then.